welcome to another episode of That Money Lady with me, Audrey Heesch, your friendly money lady. Today, I want to talk about a couple different things. First, I hope y'all had a wonderful Christmas or holiday season, whatever you celebrate, and you just enjoyed your time and found the happiness and joy in every moment because that's what it's all about, right? Even when every single thing hits the fan, like when shit hits the fan, you just are taking another step. And I don't know about you, but that was absolutely how our Christmas went. Um, Long story short, my husband and I went to a hot springs, and the woman running the grounds there came up to us before we went up because it was a hike to get to the hot springs, um, and said that there was a man up there shooting his gun because he felt people were in the tubs too long and he wanted to turn. Like, y'all, we need common sense gun reform because it's absurd, like just mind-numbingly absurd how gun violence is impacting every single aspect of our lives. We can't go to a theater, a grocery store. Children can't go to school. Like, we couldn't go to a hot springs. Like, it's unacceptable. And there's no reason to continue to on this path because it's not safe for anyone. And the idea that guns make us safer is just rooted in delusion. Guns do not make us safer. Factually, we have zero statistical evidence to back that up at all in any capacity. I'm sorry that it's just, we need something now, yesterday, years ago. Like, I don't understand, whatever. It is what it is. And that is a rabbit hole that I am happy to get in with anyone at any time. Because, like, I'm not sitting here being like, we got it. Like, all sides of my family in every capacity has multiple guns. And they are the ones that went to classes and making sure you do it right and making sure that there is common sense associated with this dangerous weapon. That's only purpose is to kill. Like, I don't care what way you look at it. If you want to look at it from the safety measure, that safety measure is to kill somebody else. Let's be abundantly clear about that. The only purpose of a gun is to kill. So, I we need common sense gun reform because we need to get these weapons of mass destruction and just regular destruction out of people's hands that should never have had access to that to begin with. It just boggles my mind. So that was my Christmas. Part of it. It was overall great. We chose to wander around the woods and other places, but still, it's like we can't even go to a hot springs, y'all. Uh, okay. That rant aside, and I genuinely hope your Christmas wasn't involved in gun violence or violence of any kind. And if you have been or that's in your home, please do reach out to a trusted person and get the help you need and deserve because unfortunately that is a very real aspect of our culture and our society is this violence and this nasty, nasty violence. And it generally ends up with guns and it's not, you deserve better. Take a step. You deserve that step and get the help you need. Reach out. I will actually, since we're talking about this, I will try and find a resource to link below this video or this episode if you are ready to take that step and break free from your situation. So leave it to me to get into the dark and twisties. Ask anyone. I'll just go deep. I'll go there. It's one of my things, much to my husband's dismay. Okay, so back to the regular programming. I wanted to talk about today, what I wanted to talk about today was just something I realized with my client, or something I should say more accurately, my client began to realize while we were connecting these dots. And it was a beautiful realization. So I wanted to share it with you because it's something I've seen time and time and time again. And if it helps you, I'm going to be so excited. And I hope you write in and let me know what happened and what the aha moment was for you. Because I love hearing it. I love hearing from y'all. So do reach out. I would love to hear from you. So this what came about was she was like, I don't mind the problem. Let me back up a little bit again. The overall thing is credit cards. And most people I know are drowning in credit card debt right now. And it is compounded by the fact that interest rates are absolutely unacceptable, like around 30%, between 25 and 30% on almost all credit cards. And it is like another part of our society that I cannot wrap my head around why this is still just accepted, but that's just what we're dealing with. So, and that's really hard for people to see. Like they're trying to get ahead, they're trying to do all these things, they're having to put groceries back. This is over and over and over again. I'm seeing this, I'm hearing this. Things are hard. Things are very hard unnecessarily, and it's for other people's profit. So, what she was like, okay, I'm drowning in this debt. And I was like, she's like, and it's hard to just spend this money when like I'm not getting like it's really hard for her to connect that. And I was like, I was able to connect her back to the purchase itself. Credit cards, my nerdy self. Let me. I'm a little scattered today. It's after Christmas. I'm in sleepy mode. So credit cards are very hard for people to connect to the initial purchase. I've seen it literally my entire young adult to adult life is credit cards are so scary because people cannot have struggled to connect back to that actual purchase because when they made that purchase, they saw it as almost free money, like money that they don't have to deal with. Not, like that is out of their mind because it's on a credit card. There's this huge disconnect. And that is what I've seen time and time again is when you connect people back to that purchase, it moves something for them because they're like, oh, I did create this debt for this thing. Because it's really easy when you have like a car and you're paying on that car. You have that physical thing that you see every day, that you use every day. You can connect to that payment, even though if that payment's painful, you can connect to that purchase. Credit cards is a whole nother beast, mostly because people use credit cards for more of the nuanced things, not the nuance, the intangible things, or the frilly things, or the extra things. Some people do use it for like the essentials, like gas and groceries. But the majority of credit card debt, from what I've seen, is though that frilly stuff, going out to dinner, getting that special thing, Christmas presents, gifts, trips. That's what goes on credit cards more often than not. So it's hard to reconnect back to that purchase when it's so far removed, especially when you're probably years down the road. But when you reconnect back to that, it's she was like that helped me so much. She was like, I don't mind paying my bills. Like I want to pay my bills. And that is also an absurd narrative that is going around is that people don't want to pay their bills. No, We just don't want to be continually taken advantage of to our detriment over and over and over and over again. That is the difference. Like that's the whole point of financial freedom, is to be able to pay your bills. So claiming that people don't want to pay their bills is just a paradigm that I fundamentally reject because it's not reality. Don't get me wrong, there are people that are probably like, I'm not paying this bills because XYZ. But when you pull back the layers, it's because they feel like they either have been or are being taken advantage of, and they're just over it. Whether they handled that correctly or not, whole nother subject. But people want to pay their bills. That aside, when so she got reconnected with that, she's like, I I did do all these purchases. I did consume these things. Now I get to pay for it. She's like, that helped so much because now I'm like, okay, I get to pay this. And that was such a huge, beautiful shift. And I am so proud of her on so many levels. I'm so proud of her. And that was just one of those beautiful things. And I loved that because it's something I've seen time and time again. Because when you get reconnected back to what you're spending your money on all levels, you're able to then have conscious money confidence. Because then you're like, okay, yes, I'm putting this on my credit card. What is my future me going to feel about this? Will this benefit me in the future? Or is this something just like I want right now? And here's the big thing. Again, words. Um, this is the bigger part of it. You don't, just because you're conscious doesn't mean you don't get what you want in the moment. There are times where you're like, okay, I do want this, but I'm okay with not having it right now because my future self would appreciate it not being in our realm or not spending the money on this. Great. There's also times where you're like, I just want this and I get to have this. And that's okay too. This isn't you have to get rid of every single thing that you ever wanted and dreaming of and you're living off ramen and cereal because evidently this cereal company wants you to eat cereal instead of a nutritious meal. Rabbit hole for another time. Sorry about that. A little bit feisty today, evidently. So it's not about saying that you don't get the thing. It's about being like, is this really what I want in the grand scheme of everything? And it's okay if you say yes, and it's okay if you say no. That is the beauty. Is it's just about being conscious about it and taking that right step for you. And then taking radical accountability for that. And how beautiful is that? I don't know about you. I find it beautiful. And that's why I do what I do. Because this is a journey. Our entire society, I'm going to scream this at the top of my lungs for as long as people will hear me. Our entire society does not set us up to understand money at all. I cannot tell you how many grown adults, numerous grown adults I've taught how to write checks or write a receipt. Like that's as basic of money as you can possibly get, besides this is the dollar bill sort of learning. We teach people how to count money. We don't teach people what to do with that money. And that is just, we teach, actually, taking it a step further, which, wow, this real time, y'all are getting my aha. We teach, we teach children how to count money and how to spend money. How many of us had that like grocery store fake mock-up where you bought products, you went through the classroom to buy products? I did that. We teach people how to spend money. We don't teach them the value of that money. We don't teach them how to manage that money, but we teach them how to spend it. Ah, that was a crazy aha, y'all. That was fun. I and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I am grateful for those steps towards understanding money that are in our system. And I think they're adequately, dramatically unacceptable. Like they're not to the level we need to, especially with our current, like everyone pushes purchase, buy, put it on credit, get in debt, and then no one tells you what any of that means or how to navigate that. And then we get as entrepreneurs, you get into business and you're now managing your personal and your business with zero understanding how to do either. And then you're mocked, ridiculed, judged, shamed for doing it in a way that you just thought was right, or you were just trying your best. And that is also an unacceptable piece of my industry that I've owned up to many times is accountants in the financial industry in general. We're pretty black and white. That tends to be the personality of our industry. Black and white, usually a little grumpy, not very kind more often than not. And that's okay. You just work with it. People are people. You can't change that. And I think it's sad how many people are disenfranchised by their money because they can't ask the questions and they feel judged, ridiculed, shamed for asking said questions when they're just trying to learn and understand. Where us in the industry, we've had years, decades probably, plus schooling more than likely to get us to the point we're at of understanding what all of this stuff is. And when somebody else doesn't have that, it's not fair to be like, well, you need to ask better questions. It's like, well, no one's teaching them how to get to those better questions. So either roll up your sleeves and start educating and being kind, or don't say anything. That's not reality, but that is my hopes and my dreams and I'm here to change that about my industry, because the thing is, y'all are smart and educated. Like I am so grateful for the people that come into my realm. They are so smart. They are educated, like usually have fancy letters after their names and just trailblazing their way through this myriad of being an entrepreneur. And finances just happens to not be your strong suit because you weren't educated. And so you're so smart. And then you feel like you're coming back at the bottom to learn all of these things to this step. And that is valid. Like that is a hard pill. Like I am in that with marketing. I'm in that learning stage to get to where I need to be a well-rounded CEO and leader of my company. And I am never going to pretend to be in a position I am not. Like I the financial piece of your business, your finances and your operations, I got you. Marketing, I'd rather stab my eyeball out and ask any accountant ever. Marketing is the first thing everyone says to cut because, to be fair, as accountants, people just find us more often than not. We don't have to do a lot of outreach. People just find us. So it's easy for us to be like, guys, and it is absolutely hands down the first thing any accountant will tell you to cut. That's just how it works. I'm just being real with you. So I've gone down a couple rabbit holes during this episode. It's the after Christmas madness. Evidently, I'm sprinkling that around too. And I think that when, let's just tie this in a pretty bow. When you're navigating your finances, especially if it's the first time you're really taking a look at your finances and you're really trying to learn what all these pieces are and how it all works for you, because that's the other piece. Every person is going to be very different because you have a whole myriad of things, whether you have a mortgage or a couple homes, or you have 401k or a pension, or your own IRA because you've been an entrepreneur so long. There are so many pieces to all of this. And it's hard to navigate. And every situation, like whether you're an LLC or a multi-member LLC or just a straight partnership or an S corp or a C corp or an LLC registered as an S corp. And then there's different rules and laws for all of these different things. Like there are so many pieces and it's going to be unique to everyone. And there's no cookie cutter solution. It's just too complicated. It's just too complicated to have that cookie cutter solution. As much as I would love to say cookie cutter solution, it doesn't work for anyone. So what I'm here to do is just share with you wherever you're at in your journey, just take that next step. Come to the table, ask the questions. If the person in front of you answers in a way you don't appreciate or like or understand, that's totally okay. Ask multiple somebody else's and keep asking questions until you understand. Because that's the piece that's very important is asking until you understand. Doesn't matter what the person in front of you is saying or how they're talking to you. If they're responding in a way that feels disempowering, the biggest power move is to keep asking. Flip that script. Be like, that's nice. And what does this mean? But what does this mean? How does this work with me? And just keep asking the questions. You'll get your answer and you deserve that answer because ultimately and unfortunately, you're the one that's responsible. And that's, while I understand that piece of our society, it is an unfortunate side because we do not educate people on what all of these pieces mean. And the people that are deemed the only ones acceptable to answer questions are never held responsible for the advice because there's just so many things. There's just so many things. And again, it's a piece of our society that I agree with because, again, that communication can be hard. The person like let's say the entrepreneur didn't disclose a large piece of the puzzle and then the advice given was counterproductive to what that large piece that might have been missing was, and then that changes everything because again our system is complicated, so complicated and so confusing, and it's challenging. So the more you ask the questions, that's when you're able to understand the full picture of your situation to be able to take your next step, and that's powerful. So uh welcome to this episode of a whole bunch of different things. I hope what you took from this episode is that the more you connect to your purchases and the more you connect to what you need and start asking those questions until you get that aha, you snap in and be like, oh, I get it. That's the goal. That's the goal, my friend. And I believe in you. And if you got any of those ahas while listening, please do reach out. I would love to hear from you. I love hearing all of the responses that I get, and it's really special. So please do reach out. I would love to hear from you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.